So today we're going to do trichroming, and well, I happen to have this car near me, so thought I'd go ahead and trichrome with this. If there is any wind noise, sorry, not my fault, it is windy Wellington. I have my lapel on me with a little Kingsguard little stopper there, but yeah, it's probably not going to do anything. So yeah, I'll explain what trichroming is with an overhead voiceover later on, because I can't think about it right now and I'm way too tired. What I'm going to basically do is capture some black and white photos at 200 ISO and go ahead and use 3 different color filters, red, then green, then blue, and they'll create 3 different black and white photos. And hopefully the sun doesn't move too bloody much for me to have consistent lighting, and I will go ahead and make a color photo from 3 black and white photos. How far away do you think I am? Like 3 meters? You think 2? Nah, I'd say like 2 to 3, like closer to 3. Sorry, this is so bad. So first shot is the red shot. Let's see how that goes. Almost forgot to meter for the second shot. Okay, let's do that. I might get some slight movement from this, but I can't really do anything about that, and we're going to Photoshop it in post, so who gives a shit. Okay, the blue filters basically usually meters the same as the green. I'm just going to confirm, but essentially, I don't know. Did that yesterday. Maybe it's like a tiny third of a stop difference. Perfect. Okay. So we are going to get some trichroming aberrations, partly because unlike yesterday, it's quite windy and I'm shooting at pretty deep shutter speeds here. Well, no, deep f-stops and then low shutter speeds because, well, I want as much of the car in focus as possible because beauty and it deserves to be admired. If we get a bit of weird trichroming in the background, yeah, whatever. I've taken a photo of this on slide film earlier, so we'll see how it goes. Now, the camera I'm using today is the Fujiga 645, and what makes that interesting is that with the Fujiga, it is a portrait-orientated camera. Usually most cameras that are portrait orientated are half frames, but in this case it is not. And in fact, this is the perfect camera if you're going to be on Instagram, simply because it's geared towards it. So let me just frame up. I pretty much know my settings now at this amount of sunlight, so I'm just gonna go for it, especially with a 1/3 stop. Okay. Did I take that photo already? Oh no, I'm on 456. That's right. Never mind. Oh, these might be slightly off in the focus, but oh well. I'm just gonna slightly get it more in focus. Oh, that's about 1 meter. It's about 2 meters. It's about 3. Yeah, it should be roughly enough. That's fine. Okay. Do you think I'd take that one again? Just in case, because I did have the focus off a little bit. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it again. After all, this is just a test. when you're trying to figure out how many stops of light your filter blocks with a camera like this, you can just meter through the camera sensor. So the camera sensor in this camera, it's not through the lens, it's actually through this viewfinder right here. So all you have to do is pop it right here and then meter and then place on your filter. And that way you will be able to get an accurate image. So that's what I've had to do with the red, the green and the blue. I've noticed basically I go from a 30th of a second down to a little bit between 30th and 15th, so like 20, and then down to 15 for the blue filter. So basically I'm just going to keep with that and continue shooting because the sun is currently right up above us and perfectly positioned to illuminate the car correctly. And seeing as I didn't get the last photo properly in focus, I'm going to go ahead and try focus this time correctly and retake photo just in case. Okay, with the red filter now, pop that off, do a quick switch. Now I've got the green filter, as you can see, down to about 20th of a second at f16. And then finally the blue filter, as you can see here. Did slightly underexpose that one by maybe a third of a stop, but I don't think that will hurt. Alright, let's move to our next location. Yeah. Okay. I think I've just got it. Okay. So that's about 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it slightly between 3 and 5 meters, and I think that'll be more than enough to get it in focus. It's like f16 anyway. There we are. There's my RGB. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. Okay. Check my metering. Still pretty solid. Okay. This is where the car came in yesterday when I was trying to do my last shots. Luckily, they were all good to wait. Otherwise, that would have been ruined. I'm thinking I might do a straight-on shot as my very last shot. What do you think? Leaving it up to my artistic merits, making sure no one else is to blame for my terrible photography. Yeah, fair enough. It's gonna be shiny. Okay. So that's more like 2 meters, right? 1. Yeah, it's about like 2. Yeah, meters only like that big. Yeah, it's like 2 meters. Okay, that's my red. Here's my second to last photo. This one is my green photo. Why are you deciding to stick? Fine. Just had to be a pain. There we are. It's easier to take off the step-up ring than to try to take the step-up ring, the filter off the step-up ring when it's on the camera, because you don't want to move your camera. So it's just easier to take off the step up ring and then loosen the filter that you've put on slightly too tightly. Okay, there we are. There's the green filter. Finally, Mr. Blue. Three, two, one, and there we are. That's it done. This has been my second attempt, I guess, at Trichrome photography. I did an attempt yesterday, but that didn't go so well. That was very unorganized and it wasn't as bright as day. I don't know how these photos are going to turn out till I see them later on, but it is what it is. The car is very shiny here at the front, so the photos could be absolute garbage. I will be photoshopping these, so I will be combining them in Photoshop. I'm not doing any other film-like techniques to do trichroming. And just because this is someone's vehicle who I know, I'm going to be removing some things from the photo that work as an identifier for this vehicle, because you just can't trust people. Hopefully, after today, sometime later next week, I will have these photos to show you.
So this is actually take 2 of this part of the video. Unfortunately, let's just say the first video didn't go very well. I was traveling quite a bit after I was recording it, and yeah, it just, files went out of sync, they went missing. I swear I'm organized. And yeah, I just at some point just decided it would be rather easier just to re-record with my new background setup, as you can see here. And yeah, I thought I'd go over how to do the digital part of trichroming. Trichroming can be done without the digital process, but pretty much everyone that does trichroming does it digitally. It's just incredibly difficult and expensive to do it in the analog format with darkroom printing. However, I will do that at some point in the future. That will be a future video, and I'll give an explainer of how that can be done. I've done my research, but really I just wanted to focus today on my first attempt at trichroming and why my very first trichrome photo was my best, probably the best ever trichrome that you've ever seen, if you are not looking for a strong Harris shutter effect, which some people dig, but I personally am a little bit on the fence about. So first things first, what you're going to need to do is scan your photos. Now, when you scan your photos, what I would recommend is that your 120 roll is either, if you scan it as a whole, scan it in sets of 3, or if your 120 roll comes back from a lab in a sheet, make sure they cut it to sets of 3. It's just going to lessen your confusion as long as you've shot in sets of 3 and didn't have any mistakes. Now, the other thing that I should note, that whilst you're scanning and you're doing them in batches, scan one photo at a time. If you have an Epson scanner like me, the Epson scanner on its own likes to choose which photo it wants to scan first and doesn't do it in an order that I can ever figure out. So scan your photos one by one, and if you've shot red, green, blue, like I did, scan your red photo first, which should be photo number 1, then photo number 2 should be green, and photo number 3 should be blue. And then you'll have scan 1, scan 2, scan 3, or however it's named in whatever way you scan. Then go ahead. This is going to be so helpful when you're on Photoshop and you need to figure out which layer is which. The first time I did this, I didn't do any of this, and it was a damn nightmare. In fact, a nightmare enough that I decided to go ahead and rescan, because sometimes I couldn't figure out which layer was the red layer, the green layer, and the blue layer. And also, what if I'd gone ahead and messed up and done 2 green layers? How would I know? So right now you'll be looking at my Lightroom folder for this project. It is a bit of a mess, a little bit unorganized, is what it is. But what I'm going to do is just go over how I went ahead and scanned my very first Trichrome photo, which happened to be my very best Trichrome photo, and I'll go over that in a moment. What you want to do is you want to right click on one of the 3 photos that you've selected, open as layers in Photoshop, then you want to go ahead and select those layers, go to edit, auto align layers. I just leave it as auto and then click OK. Now, because I've scanned my photos flipped, I will go ahead and flip the canvas horizontal right now, just so that everything looks like it makes a lot more sense. Now here comes the hard part. Like I said, I should have gone ahead when scanning these photos and done them one by one in order, and I would know which one is supposed to be red, which one's supposed to be green, and which one's supposed to be blue. However, I would have a suspicion that my first 2 layers would be red, green, and my 3rd layer will be blue. And the other thing I can do is have a look down at the colors. I can see here that the license plate is nice and dark, so that tells me that it's red. The foliage looks quite bright in the 2nd layer. And then looking at the 3rd layer, the car is the darkest. Actually, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be the lightest? So that doesn't look right. Not at all. We do see our greens are correct. So that means most likely this is the blue layer. And this is the red layer. Now, depending on your exposures at the time, some layers may be stronger than others. Now, of course, my idiot brain, which is very tired at the moment, got things around the wrong way. Colors should be lighter, not darker. So when I was looking at scan number 1, I should have been looking at the fact that the vehicle was brighter and the license plate was darker, and vice versa on scan number 4. But now I can say comfortably that that is the blue layer, this is the green layer, and this here is the red layer. Now we can see the blue layer is quite strong. So we can muck around, try lower it down a little. Definitely want that red layer there. It does not matter which order the layers are in. The colors will be the same level of brightness. If you want to tweak the photo just a little bit more, copy the layers, Command E, go to camera raw filter or whatever way you like to color correct. I like using the camera raw filter because all the effects are just all in one place. And then you can muck around with like a color mixer. Of course, sure, should we be really editing the colors of your film photos? I mean, that's up to you. Sweet, I've just taken down that strong blue tone in the photo. And what I'm trying to do right now with the edit is just try to make the photos a little bit more natural and closer to this original image. Now, the thing about trichromes is that they're either quite strongly saturated or they're usually quite undersaturated. It's very hard to get them to the right level of saturation, in my opinion. But I do think they create quite a unique look, not just the Harris effect, but the photos themselves, especially when you take the saturation down quite a bit, kind of look like much older, like 50s color photos. And then what you're gonna do is you've got a little bit of misalignment here that you kind of want to just crop out. Especially when you scan with a flatbed, the masking is all over the place, so it's not really a good way to scan film and have it align itself, but Photoshop's auto align is pretty darn good, so you don't really need to do anything more than that. So once I've got my 6x4.5, all I'm going to do is just trim it to where it needs to be trimmed to. If you click Alt and then any of the points, it will move all the points equally and you won't have your aspect ratio change. Okay, once you're happy with your crop, boom, there you are. Now we have a trichrome image. Here's my first trichrome image. I still think this is probably a little bit edited, a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm not minding the blue too much, but that one is still, I think, superior. I do have other photos from here that I trichromed, but I think this one was the best one, and I think it was better than the ones on the sunny day. And there's a reason for it. I think trichrome photos, from my short experience, the day one, which I didn't show much video footage from, I shot on a really cloudy day, and then day 2 was bright and sunny. And day 2 has way more wilder colors than day 1. If you look at the photo from day 1 that I took on and compare it to this photo here, the colors are way more aligned. In fact, it would be hard to tell the difference between this trichrome photo and standard color negative. Apart from when you look at the bushes, there's a tiny bit of that harsh shutter effect. But on a sunny day, and especially a sunny day with a tiny bit of wind, if you look at these other photos, there is quite a degree of difference with this trichroming. Take, for example, these photos here. The colors don't look as natural, and I edited these around quite a bit. I think when I go ahead and do trichroming, it's going to be one of the few times that I shoot on a cloudy day. It suits much more even lighting. Whereas with daylight, I just found the colors just didn't look as natural. In fact, if anything, they looked almost artificial with some photos, like this one here, where it has a weird kind of, I don't know a way to describe it. It kind of reminds me of like video game digital chrome kind of look to it. These were shot on the same camera, and for the most part, I don't think I had any issues making sure that my camera stayed aligned. But there's way more noticeable fragmentation, not just on the plants themselves, but you can see it on the car itself. I think this is just simply to do with the fact of the moving sun, but also the brightness of the sun. You can see here quite a degree of different colors. Now, sure, it does bring out the chrome look, but I think it's a little overbearing. Now, I also went ahead and took one photo of this car on some, I think, Velvia, and you can see the difference here in the photos. I will say that you should go ahead and try trichroming, especially if you like a challenge. I enjoy challenges, and that's one of the reasons why I shoot film. It isn't necessarily to take the greatest photograph in the world or have my artwork on display. I simply like a challenge. Digital does not provide that for me. At the moment, or at least kind of last year, I was starting to feel a little bored, a little unchallenged. I had completed so many challenges. I had achieved ideas and visions and photos that I had been wanting to achieve. I have these specialty double exposure projects. I figured out how to shoot red scale and create some very dramatic photos. Mastered shooting slide film. I even made lomography purple look good. I shot some really cool macro photos. I wouldn't say they're the greatest photos ever, but when I gave myself a challenge on something I couldn't do, and then I achieved it, I do get kind of a bit bored, and I do need something else. Because of the nature of trichroming and the fact that you have to take 3 separate photos and you have to focus, you have to have good timing as well. It does provide a set of challenges that are very hard to overcome. So I think it's a great way for photographers to challenge themselves. Between the time of me going and getting my rolls back for this video and now, I've actually shot a few other trichromes, including infrared trichromes, and it has all been a fun challenge, which I will be happy to show you at some point in the future when I've taken this to the extreme. As always, it's been real, guys. Until next time.